צו אבטיח?
שרון, תיכנס בבקשה לקישור של הלייב, תראה אם אתה רואה.
מה הקישור שלו? את יכולה לשלוח לי?
שרון, תיכנס בבקשה לקישור של הלייב.
אני שומע את עצמי פעמיים.
בטח שאתה שומע את עצמך פעמיים, כי זה עובד לי פה ברקע, אבל... נמרוד, אתה רוצה שאני אבקש מיואב? תבדוק, שרון, לי הוא עושה וידאו unavailable.
unavailable.
כן, גם אצל שרון זה unavailable. תרענן, שרון, תרענן עכשיו. רגע, אני גם בודקת אצלי. מה, בגלל הקליר קש? קליר ורניש? כן, אצלי זה גם נראה שזה בסדר. חכה, אני מצליבה גם עם ערן. ערן, תבדוק בבקשה.
אצלי לא...
תרענן, שרון. הוא עושה קליר ורניש.
לא, עדיין הקלטה.
עדיין unavailable.
אצל שניהם עדיין unavailable, הם אומרים. אנשים לא נכנסים מאינקוגניטה, אבל נמרוד.
אני הבטחתי בדפדפן שמעולם לא פתחתי, רק בשביל...
אוקיי, הוא יפתח בדפדפן אחר. אצלי באינקוגניטה זה עובד.
רגע, אני בודק גם.
אבל זה אנשים שנכנסו כבר לקישור הזה בחייהם. לא נכנסו עכשיו, אבל כן נכנסו לזה בחייהם.
לא עובד, גם בדפדפן...
לא, גם אצל שרון זה לא עובד, בדפדפן אחר זה גם לא עובד.
טוב, בואו נפיץ להם את הקישור הישיר.
לא, נמרוד, תנסה לראות אם אתה מוצא פתרון, אני פונה ליואב, כי אני רואה שהוא כבר כן זמין. לא, זה לא פעם ראשונה שאנחנו עולים בלייב מהיוזר הזה, כאילו לא עשינו שום דבר שונה. טוב, אני אדבר עם יואב. תודה. תהיה אבל זמין, אולי נצטרך אותך. כן, בסדר, ב10 דקות הקרובות. תודה, ביי. גם אז שנמרוד עשה את זה, זה גם עשה את ה-unavailable.
נכון.
נכון, לא יודעת למה. כאילו אולי זה בהרשאות שלו, רגע. למה? לא, אבל הצלחתי לעלות ללייב. נמרוד לא הצליח רק לעדכן את הקישור באתר שלה.
נכון, הלייב עובד. יש לנו קישור ישיר שאפשר למסור.
לא, הקישור לא מעודכן, כי שרון וערן מקבלים וידאו unavailable בקישור.
אני יודע, כתוב הסרטון לא זמין. אפשר לצפות בסרטון הזה ביוטיוב. אני רוצה להיכנס לתוך ערוץ היוטיוב, להסתכל על ההגדרות של הסרטון.
אבל זה לא פעם ראשונה שאנחנו משתפים ביוטיוב, כאילו שאנחנו עולים ללייב.
אני יודע, אבל השיבוש שלו באתר, האתר זה נורא טיפש. השיבוש הוא בסרטון עצמו.
אבל אין בעיה, לא הגיע אליי שום קוד.
הוא כתב לי מספר טלפון לשחזור 052-808-0286.
נכון.
יופי, אז עכשיו אני רוצה אישור. אוקיי. עכשיו אני אז תכניסי בבקשה.
לא, אבל יאב, לא שינינו שום דבר בהגדרות.
טוב, שנייה נסתכל עליו, ביי.
ביי. כשאתם, שרון וערן, שאתם נכנסים כאילו לערוץ לייב, אתם כן רואים?
כן, בטח.
שרון, גם אתה?
לא מכיר את הערוץ לייב.
הנה, שלחתי עכשיו עוד פעם במטבחון.
איפה שכתוב שלא זמין, פשוט תלחץ על צפה ביוטיוב.
אוקיי, שנייה.
שרון וערן, שאתם נכנסים כאילו לעובד.
קישור הישיר עובד.
כן.
אז קודם כל בואו נפיץ אותו.
גם הלייב עכשיו עובד.
כן? ערן לך?
ברגע שנכנסתי דרך הקישור, אז זה עובד.
עובד? נהדר, יופי.
כנראה שזה באמת הקש.
לא, אבל נכנסת מדפדפן אחר, ולא עבד לך. שאתם נכנסים כאילו לעובד.
יופי. טוב.
קישור הישיר עובד.
עובד יפה.
הנה, יאב כתב לי פתרתי. בוא נשאל אותו מה הייתה הבעיה, ותשתדלו לזכור את זה אם זה יקרה לנו שוב.
איפה קרן? קרן זמינה? אני חייב לדבר איתה שנייה על משהו.
מה קורה, יואב? אז מה הייתה הבעיה?
טוב, אני עולה עכשיו בסלון, ואני רוצה...
כן בתוך החשבון יוטיוב? אבל אני עולה ללייב מהזום. אני כאילו לא שואלת בשום דבר, אבל בסדר, תשלח לי ואני... יואב אומר שזה לא קשור לקש. אוקיי. צריך לראות אם זה הגדרה שתישמר לפעם הבאה, או שאיך עושים את זה הגדרה גורפת לכל הלייבים שאנחנו עולים אליהם. טוב, בסדר, תודה רבה, יואב. ביי. בקיצור, יש הגדרה בתוך היוטיוב של ה-Allow Embedding. שלום ליהי, שלום נימר, שלום נייף.
שלום חבר'ה.
אהלן, מה שלומכם?
אהלן.
היי נימר, נייף. היי דוידה.
איזה נוכחות לפני הזמן, מה קורה פה, ערן? כאילו איזה מגנט אתה, זה לא יאמן.
חרוצים.
ערן, הנה הפידבק פרוט שלך. היי, how are you?
היי, מקס, how are you?
היי, שרון.
Hi. My colleague Vlad is actually sitting next to me.
Hi. Vlad, I assume.
In a few seconds.
דורין?
כן.
תפעילי את הכתוביות.
אני אפעיל את הכתוביות ואני גם מעבירה לך את ההוסט, כי אני הולכת להתחבר מהטלפון. ההוסט אצל שרון אבל, אז שרון תפעיל כתוביות.
Let's see if there is subtitles.
Yes, there is.
Our English is perfect, Doreen.
Native speaker.
Wait, are we live on YouTube?
Yes, also.
Oh wow.
Yes, we have our colleagues from the Prizma program and their colleagues from their colleges are on YouTube.
He didn't do his makeup.
No, I should have done my hair more properly.
There is a retouching on the Zoom app. You can.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm not going to do touch-up. My girlfriend will laugh at me. All right.
Okay, it's 6:30, and Max, I want to say some words in Hebrew. You can try the Google Translate, auto Google Translate. If it works, go for it. ערב טוב לכולם, וברוכים הבאים לסלון חגיגי במיוחד, עם אורחים שיש לנו מהולנד, שתכף ערן יציג אותם. אבל רגע לפני, אני רוצה רק להבהיר, כמו שראיתם, הצלחנו להשיג סבסוד נהדר להדרכה, לסדנה. הדבר שאנחנו מבקשים כדי לעשות את זה הכי קל שאפשר, תעבירו קובץ אקסל עם השמות של המרצים לקרן, ואז הם יקבלו קישור להרשמה ישירות לתוך המערכת. בסדר? זה הדבר...
אנחנו בעצם מדברים על הקורסים לגבי התפעול של ה...
פיתוח קורסים במודל.
כן.
קורסים במודל, אוקיי.
שמות ואימיילים?
שם, בכללה ואימייל, כן. בסדר? תעבירו לקרן את הפרטים ובהקדם. חוץ מזה, אנחנו מאוד מאוד שמחים, ותודה רבה ענקית לשרה ותמר ונימר שהתנדבו לוועדת ההיגוי לכנס שלנו. אנחנו עדיין קולטים מועמדים. יש לכם הזדמנות חד פעמית להצטרף לוועדת ההיגוי של כנס הסיום שלנו. אז עוד לא מאוחר. אז מי שעדיין מעוניין, אנחנו נשמח.
אני כבר שלחתי לגדעון שאני מוכנה.
אוקיי, ופה, יכול להיות, ופה, אני פספסתי, ופה, כמובן. תודה, ופה. אז חברות וחברים, אני מעביר את השרביט לערן, והוא יעבור לאנגלית, וערן.
Okay, טוב, ערב טוב לכולם. Max and Vlad, we are so happy that you are here with us. Just a quick word, several quick words before we start. I'll say them in Hebrew. Just a quick story how we actually met back in 2019, I think. Yeah. טוב, אז כמה מילים. אתה חבר כאן, מקס, מפידבק פרוט, ואת הקולגה שלו, ולד מפידבק פרוט. אני הכרתי אותם בשנת 2019, ממש בסוף שנת 2019, דצמבר, לפני הקורונה, מי זוכר בכלל שהייתה תקופה כזאת, וגילוי נאות, לפני זה היה לי כובע על הראש, ואחרי שפגשתי אותם ואת הכלים שיש להם, התעופף לי הכובע, ומאז הוא לא חזר. בסדר? באמת, הם הולכים להציג לכם ערכת כלים, שאני עוד לא ראיתי כמוה, שמיועדת כל כך טוב לעולם האקדמי. אני לא אקח להם את כל ההפתעה ואת כל מה שהם הולכים להציג. אני כן אומר מראש שהכלים שאתם רואים הם עדיין לא מותאמים לשפה העברית. חלק מהגישה הזאת זה כדי לראות האם יש צורך לעשות את זה, ואם זה משהו שנראה לכם רלוונטי גם בקונטקסט שלכם, ואם כן, אנחנו נבדוק איך אנחנו עושים מהלך מולם. So without further ado, Max and Vlad from Feedback Fruits, I just told them a little story about how we met, and I said that I haven't met better tools for the academic learning that incorporate with Moodle that I liked better in the last 2 years. So the stage is yours, and let's have fun.
Thank you, Iran, and it's we are very happy that we're in this room with all these people. I remember the first conversation that we had it on, where we just completely connected in terms of pedagogical innovation, digital learning, online learning, basically where we should be going into. So I'm really happy that I can we can be here in this room, and already from the energy that we're feeling here, it's I really like it. Like, I have no clue what you guys just elaborated on, but I guess you're still smiling, so I guess we're good to go. If anyone would like to interrupt, please do. Practice what you preach. Like, we're all about student engagement, so let's just pretend that you guys are all students here, and just interrupt wherever you feel like. So I'm just going to quickly show you a few slides about, like, hey, what is actually Feedback Fruits, and then my colleague Vlad, this is Vlad, is gonna basically quickly show you a demonstration of what it is that we've actually built and are still building. And that's basically how it goes. At the end, we prepared a little survey which we would like to basically get your opinions on. So a quick request if you would like to fill that in at the end. But that's just at the end. For now, it's just basically sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Everybody okay with that? Yeah? All right, good to go. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. All right, so yeah, you're seeing my screen. So we're Feedback Fruits. We were established in 2012 already. That's almost 10 years, which we will celebrate. We're a university spin-off from the Technical University in Delft, which is the most innovative university in the Netherlands. Big on MOOCs, the early steps, also with MITx, etc. Yeah, so this is basically what I do. Basically, our motives are to facilitate online learning with a focus on pedagogy. While we're looking at digital transformation, we're not just building technology just for the sake of technology. Always keep the pedagogy in mind and then try to see where you need the technology to facilitate that actually. Second are the students. So we want to solve their engagement challenge. Especially now during these times, everything is remote. We're like our belief is that we're going to stay remote. We're going to stay online to a certain extent. I mean, like, yes, we'll go back to university and we'll go back to colleges, but the big part will remain blended or hybrid. And then the third is basically skill-focused education. So this is basically our motives. Our objectives are to basically enhance communication online, facilitating that between students, but also between the lecturer and the student. Facilitating teamwork, and in the end, improving critical thinking and problem solving. So those are the objectives that we are when we're basically looking at new technology and new pedagogy to facilitate. I already answered the question, you're still going to do it. The digital transformation challenge. Do you guys think that it's a temporary solution or a long-term educational path? If somebody would like to speak up, this is your moment. If everybody stays quiet, that's also okay. I guess we're all on the same page that it's probably a long-term educational path. At least I think we're in a good room here. But when we're looking at the digital transformation, the educators are the real heroes, but they need the right equipment to basically facilitate that long-term educational path online. And that's where we would like to help out. So in order to do that, today's focus is predominantly on collaborative learning. So how do we facilitate that collaborative learning aspect within Moodle? The second is self and peer assessment, and all focusing on the asynchronous online learning environment. And I haven't told anyone this, but there's also a little bonus potentially at the end if time allows. So that's also going to be a little surprise for you. All right. So then, what is Feedback Fruits tool suite? We're basically a complete pedagogical LMS tool suite within Moodle. Support course designs, proven outcome, and student engagement and learning outcomes. What you see here are basically the tools that we have collaborated with universities on so far. So they're in the peer feedback, so the self and peer assessment theme, the collaborative learning, which also is called activating study material, and interactive classrooms. As mentioned before, it operates all within Moodle. So what you see here is Moodle, you see the iframe, and the tools, they operate within the iframe. So users, either being educators or it being students, they don't know that they actually operate within Feedback Fruits. Like for them, it's basically all the same. Integration is done via LTI 1.3 and a deeper API integration, which allows us also to synchronize grades back into gradebook Moodle, but also more important, groups. As with teamwork, you form groups within Moodle, we automatically synchronize them into the Feedback Fruits platform. Yeah, so today's focus again, collaborative learning. What is it all about? It's students there interacting, collaborating, and learning from their peers on learning materials designed by the educator. So we basically facilitate that collaborative learning layer on top of it. And then self and peer assessment is all about students reviewing themselves and their peers. Then what are the pedagogical benefits? The sense of community, online learning community, also optimizing teaching efficiency, specifically for your educators, interaction and connection, motivation and autonomy, and the higher order cognitive skills at the end. This is basically a result of all these pedagogical benefits of the form. Now, As mentioned before, for collaborative learning, we basically have 2 tools. We have a little bit more, but it's basically focusing on these 2 tools. It's interactive study material, which we will start with, specifically the interactive documents, as that can be a good use case for basically your situation. And then also comprehension if time allows. And then for the self and peer assessment, we have group member evaluation and peer review, where peer review focuses on students providing feedback to each other on their work. So let's say me and Vlad, we collaborated on in a group project on an essay, and that essay is then distributed to Aaron, who can then provide us feedback, also being a student. Where group member evaluation focuses more on within the group, providing feedback to each other on how the collaboration process works. We see that this has a huge appetite currently in the market. And then discussion assignment is a little bit of a hybrid of the both. If time allows, we'll also touch upon it. So just some highlights, basically technology that we've built that supports pedagogy, extensive assessment options, so you can really assess like every step of the way within our activities, try to see like who did what and how did they basically collaborate with each other, and you can grade them specifically and personally on their behavior. But also, as said before, the group synchronization, feedback loops, different study material formats, and qualitative feedback. Just some highlights. Want to brag on, sorry, just bragging here. As said before, annotating study material, just a lot of different technology options that support pedagogy. The look and feel, right? So now we get to something. This is how you see interactive study materials, specifically interactive documents, and how it looks within our own Moodle environment. And as you can see, it always operates within the iframe. So what you see here is basically a group discussion between the teacher and the student, and you see like interactive moments within them reading an essay, them reading an article, specifically a question in this case. With discussion assignment, it basically, as you can see, it operates within the same iframe, just a little bit of different flow where it's more of an open discussion on deliverables handed in. And here you see peer review. So you basically see the interface of a student providing feedback on a video uploaded by one of the peers. And you see a rubric being used. And then the final one that I wanted to show is group member evaluation, where you see certain students assessing themselves and assessing their peers on how they collaborated, in this case on contributions. You probably aren't able to see it that clearly, but that's why we have Vlad in the room. It's gonna basically show it in real within Moodle. And that's what we're actually going to now. But before we do that, I'm gonna stop sharing, and I'd like to answer any questions, remarks, compliments that people might have. I'm gonna shut up now.
It looks very interesting. I wonder what is the added value that Feedback Fruit have that does not exist in other tools, because we're working with Moodle, the most of us, and there is a way to have peers הערכת עמיתים. Assessment within the Moodle tools, and we can use text, and we can use videos. So what is the added value of it?
So you can go into the added value of the specific tools, like really comparing, for example, a peer review tool from Feedback Fruits to a peer review tool from Moodle or from anything else. But yeah, that might be a bit too detailed for now. Like if you want, we can come back to that. But basically looking at it from a little bit bigger picture, the biggest benefit of cooperating with Feedback Fruits is that you have an entire suite of solutions. And these entire suite of solutions, they all have the same look and feel. However, they support a vast range of different pedagogical scenarios. So the benefit predominantly for the student is that they don't have to get used to the new interface again. They only have to do a completely different learning activity. And that is actually more important for your educators, as they are often bottlenecks in using new technology. And in this case, you only have to teach them how to use something once. And when they're getting used to that, they automatically can adopt the other part of the suite. And I think that is how we differ ourselves from the market. It is like, I'm going to be honest, it has been a difficult path over the years as we made that decision to focus on a suite instead of just one specific tool, because we could have used our development capacity just to make one tool early in the books really perfect and then spread that in the market, which we focus more on basically the range of activities, as that took a little longer to basically optimize to the point where it is now. But now we basically offer a big solution, which is usually a big benefit for universities. At least that's the feedback that we're getting. So,
kind of a one-stop shop.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a one-stop shop, and you can use whatever you want. And like, the funny thing is, like when you look at adoption at our partners, it basically goes like this. And then at one point, it just starts peaking because now people are confident with it, they are used to it, and then they start adopting the rest.
Thank you.
And if I may, I think once you will see the interactive study materials and comprehension, I think there is nothing like that in Moodle. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
You mentioned several tools, but we already saw just like 2 or 3. I'm sure that you have more tools to show to us, right?
So we quickly showed you a screenshot of 4 of our tools. Sorry,
yeah, 4, but you mentioned before like maybe 10, something like that.
Yes, but we decided that we're not going to show you all of them, as it's, well, yeah, I mean, like we can do this for another 4 hours and then we're still not at the end. So you also see our bottleneck. So it's our benefit, but it's also our bottleneck. So we're just going to show you a few. I hope that's okay. But we can come back next week. That's not a problem. All right. Then, oh, Karen, go ahead. Sorry.
No. We're waiting.
Oh, okay. I saw some people leaving. So okay, that's good. Then I'm going to shut up now and I'm going to give you the floor, Vlad, and yeah, please take it away. And I think starting with interactive documents and comprehension might be a good step.
Yes. My apologies.
You're on mute.
You're muted.
Our apologies for that. I hope now you can hear us clearly. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start sharing my screen and go through the tools themselves. So I'm going to start with the interactive study material part. We would like to take you through the experience from the student perspective, so you get a feeling of what the students go through, as well as the teacher, so you get both feelings. If there are any questions, as Max said, just feel free to interrupt and ask them. We're more than happy to take. I just shared my screen. Now I'm switching firstly to where I'm acting as Felix Rodriguez in a Moodle course, and we have a couple of elements a couple of activities that we have in this case. As discussed, we're going to start with the collaboration element and with the interactive documents. When you enter an activity with feedback fruits, as Max displayed within the presentation, you'll see that this loads within the frame that you have in Moodle. And of course, you can start scrolling through it. You'll see what is happening there. But you also have the possibility to go into full screen mode. So really stop all the distractions that you have online and focus on the learning itself. Now, at Feedback Fruits, we took a more streamlined approach to engaging with students. So always emphasizing the role and influence of instructors here. So always providing clear instructions. So this is what the students will see in the first place. And then in the second place, they'll see the activity that they have to engage with. What we also noticed that this is a group assignment, so we're going to act in this activity and collaborate with the members of our group, so Rihanna and Sean. When we enter the document, this deliverable itself, so what the teacher in this case uploaded will be displayed. However, what we see right here is a question break. So before even continuing with the third paragraph of this research paper, the teacher in this case is asking us, take a step back and try to understand what is happening, a question that has been asked. So we can go ahead and answer it. Once we click submit, In this case, we were wrong, so that makes us reflect of what we have been reading, so we can reread the paragraph and then move on. Now, the moment we click to move on, we can already see the document opens up, and we can continue the reading, learn about the goals for education or involvement in this case. And one more element to it is really try to put forward our questions or our doubts on specific areas. So from this perspective, you can make an annotation on a piece of text or in a whole paragraph and select it. And even further, you can add the voice recording to it. And can anyone assist me here? Because I do not really get this topic. Once this is posted, everyone in the group will be able to see it, as well as the teachers. So this can be engaged automatically. Another perspective is that we can also already see other annotations made by the teacher. In this case, we can already see different replies that have happened. So really to support the social layer attached to it. So try to collaborate with the group and the class together as well. So we can reply for Frank's reply in this case, as well as upvote. So really get that similar feeling to what young students now are used to in the social media threads, for example, with the thumbs up or like buttons. Up until now, curious if we've heard the question before, if you can compare that to Moodle. Is there anything that stands out, or you have any feedback?
No, of course not.
All right. Furthermore, there are different possibilities of working with feedback fruits in terms of from the student side. It's really a collaboration tool, so really working on annotations that you can make, but you can also help students engage by them creating questions, so really learn from each other to prepare for an evaluation that comes at a later stage. And that can be an option that the teacher enables. Furthermore, one element that is important is this notification center. Basically, we can always see notifications that are coming from other students. So what activity has been happening on our own contributions, we can get them directed there. So we'll always know if something new happens. Now, lastly,
the teacher can follow like one student to see what he asked or what he did. So like instead of looking at all the students together.
Very good question, and I'm gonna show that right now. But yes, a teacher can always follow either the whole class or a specific individual and the whole progress in this case. What we don't see here is sometimes you do not want this to be a summative assessment, so you don't want to attach a grade, but whenever you want a grade to be attached, you can add that. And I'm going to show that from the teacher side. Now, what I did, I just switched my screen and I'm just acting as myself in this course. When I'm opening the same activity, you'll see that there is actually no difference in it, except the point that you made and the question you asked just now, as really the teacher can see an overview of what is really happening in this activity. So from a broad perspective, here you would see that 8 out of 9 students actually started viewing. There's average number of correct questions answered and the comments placed in total. Also going to full screen mode for visibility for everyone here. You can break down the structure as well to see per groups, so how the groups perform compared to each other, old or the students, so you can see that they viewed it, they didn't finish it, they answered most questions, and also some of them answered 2 out of 3 correct or just 1 out of 3. Furthermore, if you want to do further analysis or research with this information, you can always get an Excel sheet with all the qualitative information in this activity as well. Now, when you open the activity itself from the teacher perspective, you can always control it and add, either contribute to the student's contribution or see how everyone is performing. In this case, the question that had no actual name, we see that there are 5 answers and everyone answered incorrectly. This is really just a trigger. Like when you see this on the first screen, when you open it, now it's the time for you as an instructor to make an intervention as well. If we look at the annotation of Felix in this case, we can also, hey, Felix, good point. Or if you want to use the voice recorder, oh, I need to allow permissions probably from my browser. We try. Probably my browser is not allowing this to go.
Yeah, you should mute yourself on Zoom and then you can record.
We'll get there. I think it's the browser, not the Zoom in this case, but it's my it's probably my browser. That's why it also says notice. So you can just add more human interaction to it, not just typing in or attaching a file or a small video. And of course, from the teacher side, it's important. You can always create those engagement moments. So just as the students were creating the annotation, teachers can always do that. So you can start a discussion and start a discussion in this case that you can post. So now all students will be able to respond to this and engage on this topic. Or if you want, you can also just select a specific part of the text and ask a question. So you can create these question cards. It can be open, multiple choice, and you can play around with them. Lastly, what you saw, that a small breakpoint in the document that was shared at the beginning from the student side, teachers can always have that option. So they can add these break moments where students do have to take a step back, reflect, and move forward with this part.
From your experience, how long does it take a teacher to get used to all the parts of this system and, actually to manage all the possibilities? You see, it could be somebody can use this system simply by just looking at the notations, see what the students say. But when you go to the statistics and to follow and to interfere and to communicate and to interact, the systems allows a lot of options. From your experience, how teachers how they get used to this?
It's a very good question. And there are teachers that are more tech savvy or have been exposed or more open to test new technology. So those will pick it up very fast. And there's always questions. And if you would have a question, we can just go to, if you don't know something, you can just go to this button and it's like, hey guys, can anyone help? So basically there's live support that we have that anyone can assist you with in the transition when you create or when you review an activity. There are other teachers that are not really used to it, but we try, that's why we scaffolded the activity itself. So really break it down in pieces to briefly and clearly understand, make them understand what is happening there. And also that's what we cover at Feedback Fruits as well, is try to ensure that teachers are ready to use it by providing workshops, by discussing their use cases as well.
Vlad, there are some questions on the chat. Can you answer for the question that we asked?
Yes. So I'm looking at, I love to hear this platform difference from perusal. That's the first element. Max, would you like to take that?
All right, so in terms of how it differs from perusal, this is again basically coming back to my initial question, initial reply, like how it differs. Really deep diving, not sure how beneficial it is, but what we're trying to do, because perusal is a little bit similar to Feedback Fruits. However, I think in terms of the pedagogy side of it, we really try to make it as a learning activity where the that are in there really focus students into how they collaborate with each other. And not to say that it's not with perusal, but in the end, there are basically reflection moments, there are assessment criteria that you can put in. And I think that differs to what it is for perusal. Like with perusal, it's more of like, hey, here's a document, have fun. But we're really trying to scaffold it into a learning activity. That's one. And on the technical side of it, our integration with Moodle is a little bit more deeper than what it is for perusal. Perusal has an LTI 1.0 and 1.1 integration, where ours is 1.3, and more important, we have an API integration. And that API integration provides the possibility to synchronize groups. So you want to, otherwise you basically have the whole, like all the students that are in one course, they have to collaborate with each other. But we can scaffold that more into like, hey, you have a subgroup of 5 students, let's make sure that they only collaborate with each other. And the biggest benefit of that is that you're providing a safe learning environment.
If you can please show also the grading part, where the teacher can decide what he gives the grade to each part. This is very, very impressive. So
yeah, that's what Vlad will do. I see that Dani is asking also something about an aspect of self-reflection, self-directed activity. That is the critical part of everything that we do at Feedback Fruits. After every activity, the student has the possibility to implement basically a self-reflection step. Vlad will also show you that. I'm gonna hope that answers your question, Danny.
All right, so we're back here. We always have to switch fully the mic and the volume. But yeah, in terms of the instructions and the edit, how you set it up, of course, these instructions are always customizable, the document that you set up. Also, from your perspective as an instructor, it's always important to see, like, if you have some copyrighted protected material, of course, allowing them to download, or setting up the groups, as Max mentioned, and what the students can do. So really just post discussions or just respond to discussions or ask questions. We also discuss about the grading, keeping track, or the reflection activity. So you can just click on add a reflection. So after the students finish reading the document or answering the questions, they are able to add a reflection. So they'll say what they have learned or to summarize what they have learned from this activity. And of course, if you do want to add the grading, so for answering a specific question or just for posting a discussion thread, you can have that in place. And of course, you can always play around with it. It's always the teacher who decides what they are about to do or where do they want to grade the actual student in this case, or maybe just for the question. Once that is saved, this grade will always be synced back to the students as well in Moodle. Now, what we wanted to show also as well, being mindful of the time to ensure that we get to all the elements, briefly give you an overview of the second piece of the interactive study material tool, which is interactive video. And for that, I'm going to go back to the student perspective, and we can also see that this activity is graded. And going back to the learning curve there, you will see how this tool differs or not differs at all from the other one. We'll go back to full screen mode, and you'll be able to see again the instructions and how the activity was set up. What you see different here is that you will not be reading the document, but you'll be opening a video. You also get an understanding of everything that is happening, right? So we do need to view the video. We do need to answer a certain number of questions or join discussion threads. We can always check our progress to understand where do we stand at any moment in time. When we open the video and we play it, we'll see it's similar to the document. You see a timeline. So the timeline of this video as it progresses. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to the moment where you see this lock. You always are able to see annotations made by others. However, the moment you reach this lock moment is really, again, the self-reflection step where you look into, try to understand and grasp the video. We can move forward, answer it. In this case, we got it correct. And the moment we could continue this video, the timeline opens up. Similar to the document, you can make annotations and contributions to it. And when you do this, the difference compared to the document is really, we add a timestamp to the moment of the video, where you can provide your feedback or comments, questions, and you can publish them. When you go back, again, you always have the overview of all the contributions from the instructor in this case, and engage with everyone in the course. So really provide the same unique, uniform experience for everyone. Lastly, is the reflection step. So here we see that we're prompted to write a 200-word reflection on the video. But we also see how our grade is built up. So we got 78.8 points out of the total 100 based on the following metrics. In comparison to what you've seen from document to video, are there any notes or questions that came up? I saw a little activity in the chat, so I'm going to also open that up.
I will just quickly add.
So much,
I will just quickly add that you also have interactive audio.
Aaron, I think you are muted, or it's me.
No.
I think now
we hear Aaron.
You also have interactive audio activity as well. So it's video, audio, and documents.
Indeed. So it's always, we look at anything that can be uploaded as document, PDF, material that students have to read to digest. Then is the one that they have to watch to digest, to understand specific topics, or listening. So there is a long list of files that are supported for each of them. We can share that as well in the chat. So just to make sure that everything is covered.
How are we liking it so far? Any feedback so far, except from Aaron? Aaron, I know you're excited.
I like it very much. It seems it's beautiful. The interface looks nice. I was asking about mobiles and tablets. Do you use an app also, or just web?
So since the platform is only supported by with the learning management system, we don't have a separate app because it's not necessary, because you cannot log into Feedback directly anyway.
I don't hear you well.
Sorry?
There's an echo.
I couldn't hear you well.
Excuse me. All right. So yes, it is completely mobile friendly. We don't have a direct app as it is, as we're LMS agnostic. We operate within learning management, so within Moodle. But yes, we're mobile friendly. There's no issue. However, ideal experience is always on a laptop. But yes, we're mobile friendly.
Do you have experience implementing it in academics?
How do you mean academics?
I mean in universities and colleges, higher education.
Oh, yes. The only thing we work with is higher education. We are currently with, 70 universities around the world.
So what was about, I was thinking like Nima, what is the length of, how can we plan implementation if we decide that we do it according to your experience? I mean, okay, workshop, etc. What is the time length that you can say was seen around?
Yeah, I think like you've seen two tools now. I guess it's good that we basically show you a few more today. And then in terms of like implementation, it's good that we get a good understanding of, hey, where is your biggest need? And then we focus on that. And then we just start small and we basically come to some kind of understanding, like where are your needs, which tool fits those needs perfectly. Mm-hmm. And then the best thing is that we focus on that, make sure that everybody's able to use it and knows how the interface works. And then from there on, take the next step. And the next step would be other tools. Mm-hmm. And in terms of timeline, like it really depends on you. I mean, like we can have you up and running in a week. In terms of the technical point of view, all of you. And then like it really depends on you, like how fast you want to go in terms of workshops, implementation.
You didn't answer my question, but fine. I just wanted to know, you have experience? You have done that a few times?
Oh, yes.
How long did it take?
Yeah, like it depends what you want.
Implementation of one tool, okay?
One tool? The technical part of it?
The use of the getting used to the language, to the interface, to...
Okay. I'll give you, all right, I'll give you a few examples. We did it with a business school in California, for example, UCI, University of California, Irvine, and then Paul Mirage specifically. They adopted with 3 teachers in a course of 6 months. That's one side of it, where it's really slow adoption, because they really want to contain it. But then what we saw with Queen's University in Canada, they have now adopted 55% of their students have touched feedback fruits in 6 months. And that's a university, that's a university of 25,000 students. So that means that within 6 months, 13,000 students have used feedback fruits. So it really depends on how fast you want to adopt and how fast we can facilitate. Like you can do 3 teachers, 3 courses in 6 months, or you can do 13,000 students in 6 months. So I don't have a definitive answer. It really depends on what you want.
Okay, thanks.
The interface works with other languages?
Currently, we're only supporting English, but it is definitely something that we can consider. Like the technology is ready for it. However, we're just supporting English.
You know, the problem with our language, Arabic and Hebrew, that it goes from right to left, not from left to right.
Yes, we do have a problem. We do have a problem with it, but there's we haven't encountered a problem big enough not to conquer. So, but yeah, that also depends on you, like how big is the demand and like what kind of contractual arrangement we can form, of course.
Nimr, we can assure you that like we did in other platforms in English, we help them with our technology team in Mofet and to make it right to left and to localize it into Hebrew. So if we will decide to go to work with Max and the team, they will find our experience in localization of technology in Hebrew.
That's amazing, and thank you for that, Sharon. Like I said before, like sorry, yeah, like it's definitely something we would like to consider and think about. Like think about the implementation of it. Like technically, it's definitely not an issue.
No, not at all.
Technically, it's fine.
I thought we have in most of our institutions, we have big departments of student learning, teaching and learning in English. I have invited my colleague Tami Aviad, which is the head of the English department, and I think they don't need it in Hebrew. They might use it in English and see and report back to us, and maybe be the pioneer giving it into the institution if we decide to do it. I don't understand exactly the costs. I think this is a very important point. Mm-hmm. For example, for the video thing that you show, we are using a Noto. Have you heard about it? Okay, yeah, so we've heard about it. We have it just one. You are talking about a whole suite of things. So I don't know, but this is things that have to be considered.
Yeah, no, and if I fully agree, and that's also a scenario that we discussed with Eran about, like, hey, like, how do we want to approach this? Like, in terms of like, if we want a proof of concept, showcase, we can already start into basically implementing feedback fruits in courses that are less reliant on Hebrew and perhaps more open to basically the English interface. And if it is in those courses a success, and we want to basically upskill the services, then we can always discuss like, hey, how do we handle Hebrew? How do we handle right to left? Like, again, it's not a technical issue. It's not even an issue. It's just a hurdle that we have to jump through. Or jump over. You jump over hurdles, right? You jump through hoops. Sorry about that. It's a long day. Sorry, I'm gonna.
No worries, Max. No worries.
Do you guys want to see group memory evaluation and peer review? How that works within Moodle?
Self-assessment too was interesting.
Yeah, wonderful.
Glad we have a few more minutes, so make it short and quick.
All right, thank you. I always like pressure, so I'm not gonna babble anymore. All right, so I went back to Felix in my course. I'm going to start with the peer feedback and self-assessment element to it. So once the tool actually loads within my Moodle instance, we'll see, again, it loads within the iframe, going to full screen mode for more visibility on your end. Again, see the activity scaffolded, in this case, in a couple of more steps. Really, we know peer reviews, when students have to deliver a document, there are a few steps they have to do. So build a document, deliver it, then provide feedback, then reflect on the feedback they've received. That's what we see in feedback fruits as well. Second module is the hand-in moment. The third module is where you provide feedback to your peers. And then fourth module, where you actually receive the feedback. Now, first step, always understanding the instructions. We see already that we have submitted a presentation as well as a video. Then, when we start reviewing, we can open the document from the other group. Students always get prompted to understand like what they're about to experience, or really how you can go through the review, what you will see on the screen, or you can skip and move on. Once that is done, we'll be able to see the actual document that was uploaded. You can make annotations. On the right screen, what we see is a guided criteria set up by the teacher in this case. So really, we see that there's a scale, but there's also comment criteria. So really trying to make sure that students go through all of them to understand what is meant. When you do an annotation, similar to the interactive document part, you can always link it to the specific criteria in place. You provide your feedback back to the other group. Lastly, you can indicate if it's a compliment or a suggestion. So really try to give the other peers more to work with, really to try and get to a reflection step. When we're done with it, we are also able to see the progress. So as we also do reviews, the qualitative one, we see that the actual progress bar is changing, it keeps on growing and growing and growing. And when you're done, you can return to the overview. So you can also review your peers after you've read the whole document in such an overview that you see right now.
Evaluation categories are set by the teacher?
Indeed. Very good question, but teachers have full flexibility to set up the criteria. On the third step, when students reflect on the feedback, we can open it up. Again, we get an information on how that was done. We can open the document itself, so we can see how we were reviewed by A.Z. Williams in this case. So on the qualitative level, as well as on the qualitative level. So we can see that there was a note mentioned there. There's already replies made by other people in our group. So really enforce again the level of collaboration from students learning from each other within the group and outside the groups that are set up. Now, the last element is also a grading element attached. So we can see this was a pass-fail. We see that we actually passed in this case because we finished a little bit of the feedback that we were supposed to do. And then we can move on. Of course, the notification bell is always present, similar to the other tools. Keeping time in mind, I'm briefly showing you the teacher perspective as well. And it is important, as you asked in the first situation, you really want to understand what students are going through or how groups are performing in this case. We see that no one has completed, so that's already problematic. When we move on, we can see which group have uploaded which type of files. We can already preview the files if we do want. Furthermore, teachers always get the full picture of what is happening. So you can see that not everyone is finished in this specific group. They did not finish the ratings in this case from Felix. So you can dive into it, perhaps nudge him as well in the next conversation or the next class. Students are, teachers are also able to just open up a document and provide further feedback to the groups themselves. So we see that we open up the file here, and we can see the feedback that was done. We can make different annotations. Let's go to the group itself. So we can see how the list is being handled. Lastly, of course, a grading element attached. So if you do want to attach a grade to it, this grade can be always synced back to the Moodle Grade Center. And you can see how that builds up. So here for handing in, for finishing, providing feedback, it's always a group grade. However, you see some individuals like Felix hasn't finished writing 2 pieces of review. So he didn't get the full 20 points awarded, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, teachers always have the freedom and the ability to override the grade that the students get. So if you think that actually Felix had a bigger contribution in this case, or he had a good excuse not to finish the review, you can always give him 20 more points extra. So that will change the grade, however, not the pass, because you need 50% points to actually get a pass in this case. From a setting perspective, there are a few elements that are important. You can always have students work individually or in groups, but then the most important part is how do they review? So do they review individually within that group or outside the group? So those are options that you can play around with. The groups, as Max said, are always taken from the Moodle site that you have in place, in the Moodle core, so you do not have to recreate groups. We always go with what Moodle gives us. On the submission types, you can add deadlines, of course, what type of documents or deliverables students can do. And the criteria here, I wanted to show that it's completely flexible. So you can see that there were some scale ratings, but you can always create your own rubric from scratch. In this case, you can remove levels or add the descriptions yourself. These rubrics are always reusable. So once you create it, you can use it in any other course. Furthermore, there are different settings that you can play around with, like self-assessment. So then students will have to first do a self-assessment before moving on, or add anonymity to another layer to make a more safe environment, or even further add tips. So how to provide better feedback and ask them, have you completed all these steps when you gave the feedback to your peers? Lastly, of course, the grading element. Here we see there was a pass or fail so that you can change it, or if you do not want to pass or fail, then the grade will be built up on this element. And I'm going to ask if there are any questions as I'm opening. Oh, Max is also picking up on the questions. Appreciate that. Great. What I'm thinking, I'm looking at you, Max. So we try to look at the bonus element to it, or open up a discussion.
Sorry about that.
I'm gonna mute.
Yeah, I don't know, like how open is everyone to basically seeing more of feedback fruits? We can do hands.
You know, I do, but let's hear from you. You can use the reactions on the Zoom panel, like with the yes or the no.
Yeah. All right. Danny, you don't want to see
Very
more?
useful for
just
right
because
now.
of the time. Just because of the time now.
Okay.
Nothing
Yeah, because we
personal at all. Just because we're about beyond schedule.
Yeah, no, of course.
It was
Because
perfect until.
we have an additional 9 minutes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Then I want to show one thing that's quite exciting. It's called automated feedback. We have slides prepared, but due time, we're not going to do it. Automated feedback is a tool based on artificial intelligence that automatically provides feedback to student deliverables, meaning that they have their thesis, their report, and based on certain checks that are indicated by the educator, it automatically checks the feedback. Checks the document, provides automatic feedback. Great benefit that increases the amount of feedback that is provided, and we all know that more feedback is beneficial for learning, but it also provides a lot of time relief for your educators, as they don't have to provide the same feedback over and over again to the same students by like, hey, you forgot the introduction. Hey, your abbreviations in the abstract are actually not explained in the document. Like these things, just the time relief itself is a big bonus. And we just quickly want to show you how that looks. Do we want to see that? Yeah, all right.
Right.
But you'll tell us more next time, okay? Schedule.
Definitely. So what I'm going to do, I'm go back to the screen. What you see that I already opened the bonus activity, just going back to briefly show it. So we see Felix here and the automated feedback piece that was added. This can be always used in two different ways. You can use it as a standalone check submission. Really, you create a brief activity, you ask students, upload your deliverable, get your automated feedback. Or you can mix it with a peer review activity. So before having students provide feedback to each other on the document, first the checks happen, they get the automated feedback, they upload the renewed version, and then they move on. So what happened here, we see that we had this SWOT analysis added, and automated feedback already provided some suggestions, or actually, 7 suggestions on our deliverable. You can always see all the criteria that was set by the instructor. So I can see that there were table of content, introduction, discussions, grammar, some reference styles that were actually set up from the instructor perspective, and our document also received different feedback. The first part that we see is like, there is no table of contents that, well, we did a personal SWOT analysis, but we did not even try to introduce it. So that's, well, this was very useful. Thank you very much for it. We can leave that there. Also, what we can see in this case, that a lot of the sections that we have in place, they do not contain introduction or discussion. So the feedback piece really captures all the paragraphs that you contain in this case. However,
excuse me for a minute. Does the student sees that before he hands over the?
Yes.
Okay, so he can correct himself before the teacher or the lecturer. Okay.
Indeed. As here, what we can see is also we have a reference count, but we have no references. So yeah, there's something that we have to look further into. Now, of course, this acts differently. Like we have here some suggested even grammar. It seems that the tense is incorrect. So we need to change the voice that we're talking in this specific deliverable. That's always important. Of course, the larger the document, the more information you have, the more checks you can have as well. So from the teacher's side, briefly showing that, we can briefly introduce you to the checks. We have, there are 3 ways that you can use the checks. One, use suggested templates that we see from other academics using that relate back to a thesis, for example, a project, or I think the third one is a mixture in between, or you're completely free. So if I go to the edit perspective, we see here that there were 12 checks that were enabled. We can configure them here. We can see that some of them were added. You always have the possibility to change them, even add the word count. And of course, add another one, abbreviation counts, for example, or abbreviation to the subject or to the words that you're adding. So these can always be configured or removed from your preference as you stand for it.
Thank you, go.
That was it, yes.
And with that being said, we're almost at the end. We promised that we would basically end with a survey. I just want to capture your feedback. I'm just going to drop it into the chat. So if you take just 1 minute just to give us some short answers, that'll be very helpful. And while you're doing that, we'll be here and answer some of your questions. It's in the chat, by the way, the feedback form. And then we stayed within time. Quite good, actually.
First, while everyone completes the survey, and you can also complete the survey once we are finished, if you want to get to think about what you are feeling. First, I would like to thank you. Before I forget or something, this is something that happens to me. I would like to thank you very much. For myself, I can say that every time that I see you demonstrate the tools, I'm impressed all over again. And I really like the bonus. But yes, if you have something to say, please do ask and comment.
It is so impressive that we have nothing to ask. We are working with such old interfaces, heavy, unfriendly. So I have nothing to say, really. I would have used it tomorrow, but you know, all kinds of considerations we should see. I would certainly push my English department to use it next year, if possible. Even maybe she has a group now in summer. She's so tech savvy, and she would. I think she was very impressed. I will talk to her later, but I think it is a great thing. I see a lot of potential in it.
We may connect our group, our English lecturers from all the colleges, from all the mechlalot, to learn this tool together, so they can use it in English before even translating it to Hebrew. And I think it can be beneficial for all of us.
Yeah.
I would like also to comment that it was what struck me was that it's very comprehensive and easy to go. Like it's we didn't try to we didn't have enough time to really exercise it, but it looked really inviting in a way. And very intuitive, you know, it was really intuitive too, that, you know, every time I had a question, it popped up. So, yeah, so it looks really neat. So, cheers, really.
Thank you. It's much appreciated. Like we didn't touch upon it yet, but like we're a bootstrap company. So we're a company, we don't have any external investors or anything. And the great benefit of that is that we can basically do what we want to do instead of something that potentially sells quickly.
Okay. It shows.
Yeah, and at the same time, like we really collaborate with the universities. Like we have something called the do tank. It's instead of a think tank. So in a think tank, we all think about things, and in a do tank, we actually do stuff. So all the tools and all the functionalities that you see, like we also think about them. But we only start developing when our partners basically come up to us like, hey, this is actually really something really cool. And then we collaborate with them on the applicability of it. And then we actually start building it. And I hope that you're seeing that as well, is that this is really driven from the industry and not basically driven from a business case, something that creates shareholder value. Basically.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thank you so much for the responses, by the way. Again, we would like to thank you for your time. We're basically exactly on the point. Like we have time, like we can stay a little bit longer if that's desired. If not, we'll go out of here. But yeah, thank you for your time for today. Really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
We
Sure,
will
we'll be in touch.
Yes,
Thanks,
exactly. We will be in touch and we will collect all the, let's say, feedbacks here in Hebrew, and then we will, Eran will be in touch and we'll maybe schedule a meeting about collaborating with you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
חברים, תודה.
תודה רבה.
באמת אם כאילו ניתן יהיה לקבץ לפחות את החוגים לאנגלית, אצלנו יש גם בית ספר בינלאומי, יכול להיות שיש גם בעוד מוסדות, שיכולים באמת לעשות בזה שימוש ולראות כי באמת, מה שאני לפחות ראיתי שם, זה שיש הרבה דברים שאנחנו מכירים אותם מכל מיני כלים כאלה וכאלה וכאלה, אבל באמת זה שזה מאגד את זה תחת מערכת הפעלה אחת, בעצם שהמרצה מבחינתו לא צריך לקפוץ בין דברים, זה יתרון.
וזה מה שגם מקשה קצת על ההטמעה של זה, כי המרצים כבר גילים לכל הדברים האלה, ולהכניס...
זה נראה כמו מודל, תשימי לב קרן, זה נראה כמו מודל. זאת אומרת, זה שנכנס מבחינתו הוא עיוור לעניין הזה, זה לא באמת משנה לו. אם הוא נכנס וזה עושה לו את מה שזה הוא רגיל לעשות במודל, אז זה מאוד low friction, זאת אומרת, אין כאן הרבה...
אבל מצטרך לבחור את זה כל פעם ב-LTI, לא בהוספת משאב או
פעילות. לא, בהוספת פריט. ברמת האדמינים מוסיפים את זה כפריט קבוע. אפשר לעשות את זה לכל רכיב LTI.
תמר, מה שאני אומרת שאולי ברמת המרצה הצודקת, אבל הצוות אצלנו שמערכות מידע שיצטרכו להחליץ על רכישות וכאלה, הם אומרים, יש לנו כבר, לא רוצים לעוד משהו אולי.
אני מסכימה לגמרי, זה כבר סיפור בפני עצמו, לא שאתם, השחלתי לערן שאלה ככה בצד, תוך כדי שאנשים דיברו פה לגבי הסיפור של רכישה וכולי, זאת אומרת, אם מדובר על רכישה ועלויות ועניינים וככה, יהיו לזה לא מעט התנגדויות, אם מדובר על אפשרות באמת של לפחות להתנסות, באם זה יוצר ערך מוסף משמעותי, אפילו לא בוורסיה עברית, אלא בוורסיה אנגלית שנותנת איזושהי שימושיות גבוהה יותר, ואז אנחנו גם יכולים לעשות באמת איזשהו חיבור בין החוגים לאנגלית במכללות השונות, וגורמים שככה עובדים עם חול וכאלה. בסדר, להמשך מחשבה, אבל יופי של דבר.
טוב, תודה רבה.
תודה.
ערב טוב.
ביי.
ביי.